Hello, this is Dave, and welcome to Equity Story. I'm with the Wolfie, and let's get going. And obviously, just a general share advice and not personable, not personal
Good
advice.
start.
I know, and I haven't even started drinking yet as well. Can you believe
Wow.
it? All right, Wolf. Let's talk about one of your loves of your life.
Oh, it is my love. It's been a love for a long time.
JLG.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? When they had the sort of big pullback in May, it came down to $5.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's finally a little bit of support on that trend line, isn't it? Above that $6.
Mm-hmm.
They had an announcement out yesterday from all this rain that we're having, causing damage everywhere. So the Victorian government have given them a very juicy contract, right?
A mandate, to be our number one guys to go to do repairs, restoration work. And having a company like that on your portfolio where they are really the go-to guys when they've got issues with the climate change, like we're going at the moment with the flooding and everything else, this is not going to end, Dave. I mean, they've got probably a workbook that's probably as long as the next probably 10 years. So you've got a company that's okay. It's trading on 50 times at the moment, but with the growth, I think they've talked about it 2 weeks ago when the CEO sold some shares, reiterated and said there's going to be about 40% growth, top line, EBITDA, and so on. But if you look at actual, let's be conservative and say EPS will come in around the 30%. If that happens, you're going to be buying right now. You're going to be buying a stock that's in the 30s. So I think, fundamentally speaking, Dave, a story that's got a long-term future, I think I'd be probably nibbling on this, the 6 and below.
Absolutely love it. What sort of just a nibble? So you'd nibble some around here?
Yeah, I'd have a first nibble there, and if it goes below 6, you'd start accumulating a bit more. If you don't have any, of course, if you've got some, be comfortable with it. It's a great story. The growth is there. It will catch up to its valuation. Eventually, it'll start going back up to that $7, $8, $9 again, right? Because, like I said, it's as long as they play the cards right, and they seem to be doing that beautifully at the moment. The profitability and everything else the growth is there. So I'm happy with that. You are buying a very good story.
And again, this is only a sort of for that long-term holder or long-term investor, because it's certainly obviously not trending at the moment. TYR, Westpac.
Yep.
Did they give a price?
No, they're just in talks at the moment. So I don't think I've seen anything. I haven't seen any rumors or anything like that. I know that they've just mentioned that Westpac is one of the people that are looking at, and looking like Westpac maybe wants to buy it out to go against CBA, which have got their own terminal network, right? So it makes sense, but for me, I'm not sure that's the right move for Westpac. Saying that doesn't matter. There's a takeover going on probably in the background somewhere. Again, tells you that there's value in them hills, aka tech stocks, right? And we've talked about a number of them, right? That they are really looking cheap on a fundamental basis. And we know why they're cheap, because market just hates buying at the moment companies that are unprofitable, right? And it just presents an opportunity for the private equity guys when they are snapping these things up, because they can hold on to these things for a couple of 2 or 3 years. When things settle down, people are getting used to those unprofitable companies again. They're going to probably release them again like 2 or 3 times the price.
Yeah, it's interesting when you've gone, there was rumors of the takeover, and we did say you can have a nibble here. I think we're looking at the daily and see how high it goes. But then when it hit the trend, I thought, well, if you're there, take a profit, don't be greedy. But now it's broken through trend. So are you a buyer on this, Wolf, on these rumors?
I don't like the company personally. I just don't like their business itself. So fundamentally not for me, but if you want to trend it, I've got no issues with that, because there is a lot of M&A activity going on, and it's not a good looking trend technically, right?
It's not really trending. You'd want it to do a little bit more, wouldn't you?
Okay, fair enough. Well, from your point of view, then not enough yet. For me, fundamentally past. But it is a good indicator that there's a lot of activity in this space.
Again, we're talking about another stock that says activity in the space,
There you
NTO.
go. Absolutely.
They sort of, I think there was talk about a higher takeover target, or what they were talking about.
Yeah, there was definitely rumors before I even left, right? They were talking about that. There's private equity sniffing around for NTO. So there you go. Another company, right? That's in the crosshairs. And Dave, we can probably go through a long list, right? At least 20 stocks that are in that category, you know, with the Whispers of the world, probably the FCLs of the world, and a number of others. 360, probably another one, you know, possibly be in the crosshairs. The ones that are still growing, and you know that eventually they'll probably, hopefully, the business case is right, they become profitable. But you know, for the private equity guys out there, they can see value. They can sniff value when they see the longer term view. You know, for investors like us, Dave, our long term is like 2 months. For the
I know.
For the big investors out there, it's probably 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, I know. So okay, but it's NTO for me. If it ended like this by the end of the week, I think for me it'd be worth having a look at.
Well, let's do this then. Let's wait till the end of the week. Let's see what some of these stocks are, like TYRs, the NTOs of the world, and then we'll look at some other stuff and see what else can we look at as a possible nibbling opportunity for a recovery of some kind.
Another stock that came out with an announcement today, which was reasonably bullish, was TWE.
And Dave, I like that when you say reasonably bullish. To me, reasonably bullish means reiterated its guidance.
Well, you know what? And like you're saying, how many companies are reiterating their guidance? And
yes,
you know, if I was the RBA, I'd be getting really nervous because I was in a shopping center on the weekend. It was packed. You couldn't move. The economy is booming. They're talking about our jobs are going even lower down, maybe to record lows. I mean, the job numbers, everything is looking good. I've seen record property prices, like I said yesterday, happening in Manly on some properties. I mean, it's not all doom and gloom, and certainly the interest rates the interest rate rise so far, I don't think it's done hardly anything.
Yeah, but this is we talked about it yesterday. It seems like we did double from here, don't we, with interest rates before we see
well, definitely
investors going, oh well, that's too much now. I've got to actually start saving, because at 3%, around that mark globally, it's just not enough by the looks of things. That we need to go much higher than it is.
But TWE, and again, it does not a bad looking chart, and we actually had this one as one of our ideas in an inflationary environment.
Exactly.
Alcohol's, so it doesn't pay a great dividend. That's the only problem with it. It's hardly anything really for a div. Yeah. But if you're in that story with that announcement, I think you're most probably holding it. And again, BXB reiterated the guidance too, didn't they?
I know. I mean, remember that only not too long ago, there was big calls from the big brokers out there saying that we're a little bit scared. There's going to be a lot of downgrades. There's going to be probably some negativity in the outlook and the guidances, right? But we haven't seen that too much at the moment. We're seeing, and the good news for me, like we just said, the good news is reiterating your guidance is actually great right now, because there was a lot of negativity around the guidances. So when you see reiterating guidance, that's a positive, and I'm happy to hold it if that's the case.
Now, DSE, drop sweet.
Yep.
You've been liking this stock. Well, I mean, we had a run up on it in the early days, right? Yeah. And in all fairness, you look at it now, I mean, it's just hovering sideways.
Which is amazing in this market for a tech stock.
Well, definitely. Which again sort of ticks those boxes. When this starts to, when the market starts to come back a little bit, it starts to trend. There's no reason why we can't have another little move.
Well, look at it this way, Dave. Look, just hold your cursor where you were before at the January 21, right? They were at about 10 million overall. Just go up to that January 2021, right? Where we got to that sort of that sideways movement, the start of the side movement. So they were about annualized about 10 to 12 million in revenues. In the next almost like 18 months, they're up 22 million, right? So they've actually almost doubled their revenues, yet the share price has done nothing, right? But it just shows you that the growth is there, and it's a great company, and it's probably holding on. And the big box tick is in that actually cybersecurity space, which is, it's probably one of the keys why it's actually been holding on quite well. So for me, we've been championing this stock. We've talked to the actual CEO with this, Sharif. So we Dave, we still like this story a lot. So if you don't have any, again, maybe we should just wait for the week to see exactly where it's at. But I'd be definitely holding some.
Hub up 13%. Well, very, very impressive price action here, Wolfie. Deserving?
No, overreaction. I think overreaction, Dave. I think it's one of those relief type buying because the market probably was really negative on it. So I think that's what's happening there. There were still actually outflows. If you look at the actual Hub result, it was okay. I mean, I suppose pretty good for what the expectations were. So that's why it's up. But when you look at it, it's not growing that much at this stage. And that's understandable. I mean, the markets are like this at the moment. I mean, if you look at, the darling of the world, the MFGs of the world, that's just getting absolutely hammered. So anything that you can see inflows coming in, that's pretty good.
PLS, it's up 4%. Record high lithium prices there. They got overnight. So impressive. This lithium, the lithium story is not dead yet, Wolfie, is it?
No, it isn't. Actually, I want to talk about my top 10 stocks, and I want to talk about it tomorrow. We'll leave it all tomorrow because we've done already a big thing. I'm just looking at the list, and PLS is on that list, right? The top 10 post FY22 results. That was that before I left 10 stocks for you to buy for the next 12 months. And I took a gamble with PLS because I thought, oh my God, we got to have something that it's still got maybe another 12 months to go. And I thought lithium's still pretty strong. And I had to pick something really, really good. And I know that's going to grow. And PLS has done very well for us, right? So if we looked at it 6 weeks ago, you're probably up still on it. So that's a positive. And like you said, that announcement today just shows how strong the bloody lithium prices are. It's not going backwards, is it, at the moment?
No, definitely not. And yeah, listen, look at the charts. I think
you'd be holding, wouldn't you?
You'd be holding. I mean, yeah. And what you've got to like about this, it's had this sort of run up from 250, nearly doubled. Well, it has doubled 250 to 5, and now it's saying, well, we're just going to hold here for a while, maybe go sideways before we have another run up. I mean, great price action, Wolf. Let's talk about Rio.
Yep.
Because China, there's the general view is that the Chinese government possibly going forward are not going to be that, before they've been stimulating the economy, haven't they, or stimulating the infrastructure, and they've done a little bit. But do you think they've got to a point where especially now he's got real control, it's his third term, he's got people under lockdown. Do you think he's going to put the squeezes now on the local economy and say, right, we're not going to keep playing these, because eventually all these booms will go to bust, right? Is he trying to calm it down a little bit now, and is that going to affect some of our iron ore and copper plays?
Look, it's actually an interesting point when you think about where Xi's at the moment, right? I know he's getting another term, but if over the last 2 or 3, 4 years, the actual economy has been slowing down. So he hasn't done a great job over the last little period with the Chinese economy. And that's because of the policies and his hard-handed tactics, unfortunately, Dave. So I'm not a big fan of his. And obviously, of course, I'm not a fan of how China is obviously run with a Communist Party like that, where there's actually no vote. I'm worried. I am really worried. It is just, one man making all the decisions, really. And you know how that ends up, usually.
Yeah, we definitely do.
So while there might be some parts that will be okay, like maybe the lithium and so on, I think generally speaking, there's troubled times ahead for China.
So when you look at that and you're in things, does that sort of
makes you nervous about your iron ores? Absolutely, Dave. Yeah. That's exactly what you're probably trying to say here. It makes me nervous about iron ore and all the other, I suppose, things that make China grow, right? It's appetite for raw materials, right? Obviously, all the coppers and iron ores and everything else that could potentially not evaporate, but at least slow down significantly. And then you obviously maybe we're going to go into a low cycle of commodity prices. I don't know. I mean, it's sort of heading that way at the moment.
Right. So we're going sort of going negative slightly on iron ore, going negative slightly on nickel, copper, these sort of things, but actually going positive on lithium and going positive still on coal. It's the same old story, and it has been all year.
Yep.
And there's another reason where you're thinking coal could have another jump up in price, and talk us through it, Wolf.
Yeah. That was that conference that they had. You know, that speech that Xi gave overnight, and was basically talking about that we are going to actually pump out more coal powered plants and power producing plants using coal, which was astounding when you think about actually China was going down that, you know, they've set their own targets for being renewable and so on, but they're going down that we need to open up more because they've had issues previous couple of years where there was actually blackouts in some cities, right? So I think Xi's going, we don't want to see that again, and we don't want to have our large populace hating us or have some sort of disturbances, because it's important for his and for the whole Communist Party not to have any of those issues.
And quite right, they've had major blackouts in the northern parts of China. The economy just it's just grown too quickly, right?
So I think they're just putting some things in places where they don't see those blackouts again, and they're reassuring the populace that, hey guys, we are looking after you. Energy wise, we're going to be secure. So they have to go there, although they're still reiterating they are still going down that path of renewable. But for the meantime, they are going to build more coal-fired plants, and they're going to probably buy more coal, which means positive. More demand for coal means higher prices probably if there's no supply anywhere else.
So your Whitehavens, your New Hopes, still positive on SMR. There's a little one today that's SKA. I think, I think it's maybe more metallurgical coal, but I mean, just the space is just bullish, isn't it, at the moment?
It is. That's that theme that we talked about. It's still intact.
I know, it's funny. It's right. It's a whole year.
No, it's going. Nothing's changed.
It's oil, coal, lithium.
Yep. That's right. That's right. Trifecta.
Yeah. EVS, Wolfie. A story that I'm glad to say both the dream team both you and Claude are liking this one, and they came up with a sales update today. Were you happy with it?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I mean, it's growing. That's all you can expect out of a company, right? It's in the right space, environmental space. I think 3 different business units, which is I think aviation, water, and air. I think so. It's looking good. I think it just needs more time. Some of these stocks, the tech stocks, Dave, they just need plenty of time and breathing space. And unfortunately, with the market right now, it doesn't like a lot of these tech stocks. It's languishing a little bit, but again, probably I'd say because it's a pretty good company, maybe it will be in a crosshairs of another private equity group somewhere along the line. But I wouldn't be buying for that. I'd be looking at because it's a good company that's got something good to offer, and that is those products in that environmental space.
Wolf, Drone Shield. Again, it's poked its head up above trend. It's interesting. War has changed, hasn't it? Or the nature of warfare has changed. Drones have taken over. The drones are, dare I say it, the new tank, aren't they?
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? The Russians are using, the Ukrainians are using it. Kamikaze drones that are imported. I think the Ukrainians are taking out one from Turkey, and the Russians are taking one from Iran. So how do you combat that? Drone shields doesn't look too bad because they've got the technology maybe to shoot them out of the sky. So nice little announcement today, right? Opening up maybe that Department of Defense in the US. They've got a partnership over there. Definitely one to watch. It's in the right space, 100%, right? and if the technology is good enough and they get some traction on sales, you could have a little bit of a, maybe a bit of a trending stock here.
It's incredible, isn't it? When you watch those drones just take out those tanks easily, it's like, an old favorite, Cochlear. Again, another one reiterating guidance. Now,
yes, yes.
It's so, again, we go back to this economy where, hello, and you look overnight, we had the Dow up overnight. Our market strong. The banks were performing well in America. It's great, but it's also, it's a bit of a worry because, like you said, these interest rates are just going to keep on flying higher. AMS. If there ever was a bad raise, this is a typical bad raise, right? The share price has crashed from $1.60 to 15 cents. And did they say how much they're raising?
No, at the moment they're in a trading hold only, right? So we're speculating here, Dave. This is a bad raise because, first of all, they are doing it on the lows. I mean, how frustrating it is for their shareholders, right? So it's almost like a survival type capital raise, because you normally wouldn't do it unless you're desperate at these sort of prices, right? So it's a survival. It just, what have come down from going at $1.60 only last year, so 12 months, to being where it is at 15 cents. If you're a shareholder, you'd be asking a lot of questions and be going, get rid of every single person in that company and start again.
It's appalling, isn't it?
It's unbelievable.
Well, what if they needed money? Why weren't they raising up here anyway? Oh, they most probably were.
Well, I think it's to do with Dave. I think it's to do because they're running the books wrong. So remember, they had to restate some of these fundamentals recently, which again was that big red candle. So it just really got themselves in a big mess probably 12 months ago, and it's just been a downward run ever since. The old CEOs left. The problems with the CEO that's in the US that didn't want to come to litigate. There's just so many things happening. Unfortunately, it's a disaster at the moment.
Yeah, they did announce this new 8K sensor camera while you're away, which looked interesting. So maybe trying to be a half glass full, maybe they need the money to expand that. But listen, it's very disappointing.
If you strip away the management, how the company's been run and everything else, I think the technology is pretty good, right? Because it's been actually used quite successfully for quite some time. But the way the company's run is just a mess, absolute mess.
So Wolf, just ending, there's a few broker announcements, MP1, QB and BKW. Could you talk us through those?
Let's go through that's broker stuff. So just give me a sec. I'll go to it. So MP1, we're talking about, I think, Credit Suisse initiation of coverage with a neutral and a price target of $8.10. So they are roughly around there. They obviously are pretty positive on the company. Talking about it's a global leading pure play software-defined networking operator. And I love, look, Dave, if I'm going to be buying something in this space, right now, depressed prices, you think to yourself, okay, still unprofitable, but heading down towards that cash neutrality. I need to tick as many boxes as I can in my favor, right? If I'm going to be taking a punt on these things, I want to have something that's really outstanding. And MP1, it does have that. And it is actually leading player in this space. If you can grab the number one position in this space, you've got something that no one else has. So, I've got a big box to be ticked there. So if I'm in this, I'm still liking what I'm seeing. However, it's not trending. So I wouldn't maybe be buying it, but at least be holding it if I got some of this.
Wolf, very, very interesting. I've just seen as well, MTS, Metcash. 3 broker upgrades all around 460. So again, we're talking about get some opportunity knocks yesterday on the video. And just give you this actually, because it's the Citi have a target price of 440. Credit Suisse have a target price of 416, and Macquarie has a target price of 460. So yeah, very, very good. Sorry,
you froze there for a sec. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, they all had really good target prices. So it's 3 all around that 460. The other one was interesting. BKW. What's going on there, Wolf?
Yeah, that was a very big surprise for me, right? Because they're in that property developments, real estate space, right? Maybe quite linked to the economy of Australia, maybe globally as well. Yet you've got, and you think to yourself, negative at the moment. Yet you've got a broker coming out with a very, very strong statement, right? And I'm just going to go to it, and that's his UBS upgrade to a buy from a neutral. And it's just talking about in general, talking about that it raises its property valuation for Brickworks and EPS forecast by 30% in FY23 and 117% in FY24, Dave. So as a result, their price target is 25.30, which is up there. So really bullish on this stock, and we love it because it's cheap. It's cheap as chips. So why not?
And QBE, Wolf, you had some broker upgrade on QBE, which
So in general speaking, I think there was a ruling. I think I'm just going to go back down to have a look and tell you about it. And they're talking about the insurers. One of them is QBE, the other one Suncorp. The High Court. So I'm just going to quickly read it out to you. The High Court has dismissed an application from both insurers and insured to appeal against the business interruption case, which found in favor of insurers. Right. So that looks reasonably, reasonably okay for the insurers out there. If you look at it, they're talking about there's going to be liable just for the interest charges. So I think that there was maybe a premise that it's going to be a pretty big negative for the insurers. Yet it isn't going to be. And Credit Suisse now, talking about the price target of 1784, Dave. Now, that is a big jump from 1192 it's got there. And also Morgan Stanley, another one after that ruling, has got a price tag of 16. I mean, that's big.
It's good, some good numbers.
Yeah, big numbers from some of these. And I'll give you Suncorp as well. They've got an outperform, Credit Suisse, outperform on Suncorp, and talking about 1370, right? And again, way above the trend lines and way above last 12 months highs.
So is there any sort of on PSI? Did they give any sort of upgrade?
No. They're talking about pure insurers. These guys are more, are brokers, insurance brokers, so a little bit different. But I still like the insurance space, whether it's a broker, insurance broker, or a pure play insurer. I think it's still pretty positive for that space because we talked about yesterday which areas usually trend in times of inflation, which areas tend to do quite well. This is the areas that do quite well.
Right, Wolf, absolutely brilliant. So some great advice there, and again, just reiterating that buy on Metcash and some very interesting stories out there. And if you're in DSC, you'd be holding it, and again, you'd be in these lithium stocks, you're holding it. If you're in these coal stocks, you're holding it, or you're lifting your stop loss. Insurers looking good, and JLG. I think the real taker there is start nibbling.
Dave, this was in the top 10 from before I left. So, the August reporting. We talked about PLS that's done quite well. JLG has doing okay at the moment, I suppose, but we'll talk about the top 10 tomorrow. I'm just intrigued to see where we are, and a couple of months later, post those results.
All right, brilliant, absolutely fantastic. Wolfie, have a wonderful day, and great to have you back, champ.
Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Tonight,
the dream team.
Yes.
Wolf and Claude together. Here we go.
Oh my God, it's going to be the best time ever. Join us.